All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you to those of you who are online who are attending our public meeting for sewer separation Outfall 054. And thank you to our generous hosts here who are helping us with technical difficulties. This is our second Smart Sewer in-person public meeting since the start of the pandemic, and we're still trying to figure out the hybrid meeting option. So I'm Drew Matrician. I do public outreach for the Smart Sewer program. With us tonight, we have Srini Valabanini, the KC Water Smart Sewer Officer, Priya Iyengar, the project manager for Outfall 054, Jesse Veach, and Chad Johnson, who are the design professionals for CDM Smith. And just quickly to go over the meeting logistics and protocols. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Smart Sewer website, kcsmartsewer.us/outfall054. And will also be posted on the KC Water YouTube channel. If you're online and have a question, please raise your hand or put your question in the chat. And just really quickly to go over expectations for the meeting, what we hope you all will get out of this. We hope you'll have a better understanding of the city sewer system and the infrastructure in your neighborhood. Learn about some of the challenges KC Water is trying to solve through the Smart Sewer program, and ultimately provide feedback on the design of this project and considerations as we move into the construction phase. So with that, I'll turn it over to Srini, who will talk more about the Smart Sewer program.
Good evening. Thank you for being with us for this public outreach meeting. I'm Srini Valabanini, Smart Sewer Officer for KC Water. I'll be providing a broader context why this project, give you some overview of what we do in KC Water, and then walk you towards the project updates. Those of you joined today, we appreciate your participation, and those of you watching later recording, again, thanks for your interest in the project. KC Water is 3 utilities in one. We provide safe drinking water, taken from water sources and treating and delivering it to your homes and your institutions and whatever you consume. And we also take the wastewater, collect and treat it and safely discharge back to the waterways. And we also work on the help provide you services on the stormwater, which are dealing with urban drainage, and we also have extensive levee systems that we to protect from major floods and whatnot. So this is a pretty extensive system, and just give you a little feel for it. All through these different utilities, we have roughly about 6,000 miles of pipe that we, the assets we own and we maintain and operate and to provide these services. That's a lot of pipe. If you look at the extent of it, it's almost driving from New York to Los Angeles round trip. So that's how much of the pipe we have underground, which you don't see, but functions every day to provide you services. And we have 2 types of service areas in our system. What we refer to combined sewer system, which is in the more older part in the core of the city, and then we have separate sewer systems. They are more in the outlying and both on the north of the river and further south of the combined sewer area. In essence, that these sewers in the water part actually dates back to 1857. Yeah, that is 1857, a long time ago. So we have a very old system. Within that shaded area you see on the screen is about 58 square miles that has about more than 1,000 miles of pipe that convey water. I'll explain what is combined means, what is separate means. In the separate areas, as you see on those light green shaded areas, that's about, if we add all that up, about 260 square miles. We have about 1,800 miles of pipe there. So typically the older parts are built on a combined system, and the relatively newer systems built from 1960s onwards are separate source systems. To give you some understanding, In a combined source system, we do have one set of pipe that collects wastewater from our homes, institutions, and whatnot. But also, same pipe also collect the rainfall runoff when it rains. Those two sources of water combined in the same pipe, and then those pipes are ultimately supposed to take all the flow to wastewater treatment plant. In the during dry condition, that happens where the collected wastewater conveyed to the downstream to a wastewater treatment plant and treated and safely discharged back to the waterways. But when it rains, most part of that combined mixture of the sanitary flow and rainwater combined, they overflow to the area waterways. That is a pollution concern. That's how combined systems work. That's how they're designed. Way back when, we thought our elders thought that building one pipe will do solve the problems, but later we found that's not the case because of the pollution concerns on the water bodies, which in turn downstream affects the intakes for our water treatment plants. In the separate system, we do have two sets of pipes, one for the wastewater that takes the wastewater and convey to the wastewater treatment plants and for treatment and discharge. And we have a separate pipe that collects only rainwater runoff and then that discharges to the waterways. That has its own set of challenges how they work, but where we are in this project area, we're in the combined system. Means that we have one common pipe that take water and wastewater. That when it rains, we have a mixture of wastewater and stormwater conveys to receiving streams. That is what is driving some of the concerns for these projects. Now, talking about concerns and challenges, we do have a number of challenges. As I mentioned, when it rains, our system overflows from the solar system to the area waterways without any treatment. That is a direct pollution concern and water quality and public health concern. As I mentioned before, we have sewers that dating back to 1857. Even some of them dating back to 1960s. We have a aged or aging wastewater infrastructure which needed attention in terms of improving their condition and managing their useful life. And of course, when the sewers are loaded during rainfall conditions, they tend to back up, and these backups could be to homes or other properties, or sometimes to the surface, to the street. That is not a good thing. And also, when these sewer flows occurred to the area waterways, that pollutes the local streams, lakes, and rivers. And other non-technical challenge is that while our sewer system is very old, but if you look at the historical sewer rates, they did not reflect the true cost of managing these systems, inspecting them and fixing any issues with the condition and whatnot. So that's the lower rates historically did not produce enough resources to fix our system. So that is another major challenge we have. Now, we're not alone. There are about 800 plus other communities around the United States have combined system. They do have very similar problems. They're also dealing with very similar challenges and programs like we are currently administering. So we're among many, but we have our own unique challenges as well. Now, because of those challenges and pollution concerns, we do have permits for our systems. We need to be safely collecting wastewater and discharge. And there is a state regulations. We need to comply with the permits. Obviously, because of the sewer overflows and the water quality concerns, there was a requirement for us to fix our sewers as a result of Clean Water Act, if you may recall, back in the early 70s. That drives a lot of our system improvement needs. And we do have, because of the long-standing gap in attending to these sewer system improvement needs and lack of adequate response, and we do have regulatory agencies came to us and worked with us, and we do have a federally mandated program to fix our sewer system problems. And we do what we call a consent decree currently in place. which requires for us to address sewer water flows. As we speak, we have a recent consent decree. We have negotiated with the EPA, which originally was signed in 2010, but in early 2021, we have an amendment to it. Essentially, we have a new consent decree, which now give us a path forward to our programs through 2040. Now, part of that sewer consent decree, we have several planned improvements. There are different ways to how you solve the problems we have. In some cases, we manage rainwater at the source using natural systems, what we refer to green infrastructure. Therefore, that there's less burden on the sewer system and less water flows. And also some cases, so that's combined system I talked about, we may, in a case by case, we may separate them into two parts of the system. One dedicated system for the wastewater, one other one is dedicated for the stormwater. But we do that sparingly in our system. And also, I talk about aging system or aging system. We have a sewer rehabilitation for those systems and also improving their capacity to convey more flow, as much flow as possible to the treatment plants and discharge. In some of the separate systems, we have a different set of challenges with the rainwater still getting into the sanitary systems through illicit connections and whatnot. Those we have a program to reduce that. And we do have regular updates we need for our moving the water to point A to point B in system. We may need sometimes we need to pump up the flow to the desired levels. We do have pump stations, and that the improvements are needed to keep up with the rest of the improvements and also providing adequate capacity at the treatment plants. In some cases, we may have a wet weather treatment facilities very much dedicated to capture the system water flows and run through a treatment plant and discharge in the river. Not necessarily at the treatment plants we have, but that could be up in the system. So there's a multiple pieces of the puzzle we put together. But all in all, total program cost through from 2010 through 2035, we are looking at $2.3 billion investment. That is to 2035, and after that, there could be additional investments may be needed, but that will be decided later down the program. Now, the next slide, it's kind of a busy looking slide, but in essence, what it's showing is that what our travel from 2010 towards 2040 in different parts of our system, in combined system, separate part of the system, and then some projects are city-wide. But this chart will show that how do we, where we are in the program now in 2020, 2021, and then how far we go through 2035, and then define our future in 2032 to define what would be like by 2040. So we do. That's where the overall program look like, and source separation in the Outfall 54 area is one project of many projects that we're designing and building throughout the system. As I mentioned before, source separation is more of a taking the combined system we have in the Outfall 54 area where we are right now, and creating two separate systems to lessen the burden on the combined system and then reduce water flows at the Outfall 54 in the proximity of this location, and which will provide the level of production we need from water quality point of view. We have our project team today who could walk you through, but we have met with our stakeholder groups more than about 8 times in the past as we conceive and develop the designs. And some of you maybe already have this information, but those of you who are listening to the first time, we thought of giving you the proper context to this project. Now, I would like to ask Priya Iyengar to come in. She's our project manager for this. We'll actually now provide more details on the source separation Outfall 54 project. Priya?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Priya Iyengar. I work with KC Water. I'll provide a general overview of the project, and then I'll hand it over to Chad to give you more details on the project elements that we have planned for. So thank you, Cindy, for that overview on all the challenges that we're facing. I want to share that this project, Sewer Separation Outfall 54, is one of the many projects that is underway to address all those challenges that you heard a few minutes ago. The map that you're seeing on the slide is the project map, the boundaries of which on the north, 15th Terrace is our northern boundary. On the south, we've got 18th Street, east and west boundary around Fairmont Avenue and Oakley Avenue. So that's our project boundary. Generally, the water drains from north to south towards Police Athletic League that you're seeing on the map. The project area is approximately 35 acres. On this slide, it might be a little hard to see the red orangish lines within the project area. That's really showcasing the amount of combined sewer that is within your community. It's about 9,000 linear feet of pipe that's underground. That's buried that you cannot see, and that's providing the services that you just heard. The picture to the left bottom is the outfall. So outfall is really a discharge pipe that discharges combined sewer into the nearby creek. So the name is in the title. The outfall is in the name of the project. And that's really our problem that we're trying to fix, to try and reduce that overflow from that outfall. The improvements that we're planning to implement as part of this project is rehabilitation of that existing sewer system, so the 9,000 linear feet of sewer system. What we were able to do as a project team was investigate those pipes by sending cameras into the sewers to understand if the pipes are deteriorated, if it needs fixing. So based on that evaluation, we have proposed a rehabilitation of this entire sewer system. We're proposing new stormwater collection. As Srini mentioned earlier, our strategy is to basically divert that stormwater that's getting into the combined sewer right now and collect it in a separate pipe and discharge it to the creek with some sort of treatment. You'll also notice that we have drain infrastructure, some underground and some on the surface. This, we intend for it to provide a storage of 335,000 gallons. So when we separate the stormwater will be diverted to a green infrastructure facility for some sort of treatment, a water quality treatment, before it's discharged back to the creek. As part of this project, we're also implementing new water mains. Where we found conflict, where we found new stormwater pipes being installed within one street segment, we also saw that there was a need for replacing water mains. They're old water mains and they were needing replacement, and this is a good opportunity to do that. We're also providing restoration of streets where there's a need, where we're digging 2 trenches, just making sure that the street is fixed after the pipes are installed. So once these improvements are installed or in the ground, the benefits that the community would realize is improvement in water quality, an opportunity for education for the kids within the community through green infrastructure, and improved services in terms of sanitary services and stormwater. I want to touch a little bit on the timeline of the project. Right now, our designs, the plans that we have brought here today, they're at 90% design, so we're almost close to final design. We anticipate to have all our construction documents ready by February of next year. And once the construction documents are ready, we will be bidding to solicit a lowest and best bidder construction contractor. That's about 4 to 5 months. And following that, we'll start construction. So anticipate construction within the community in the next summer. And that should take us about a year to finish construction. And once construction's finished, we'll go through a maintenance phase for green infrastructure that you subsurface and on the surface green infrastructure. One question we always get asked is who will maintain green infrastructure? And we'd like to say that yes, the city will maintain what we build. So once the green infrastructure is built, the city will be maintaining it. As Srini mentioned briefly, we also did some stakeholder engagement during the design phase. In the past few months, our first public meeting on the project before we started preliminary design was in April of this year. We met with the Blue Valley Neighborhood Association, McCoy Park Association, Trailwoods Elementary, Police Athletic League, and other neighborhood residents. And at this point, I'll let Chad talk about the project.
I think we just lost our microphone, so the sound may be a little bit different here. Chad Johnson, I'm the CDM Smith. I'm the technical lead for this project. Trying to gather the information, take the information we have, and then make this a community amenity for years and years to come. What's up on the screen there? We saw this a little bit before. It shows the existing system. It may or may not be noticeable, but there are existing pipes that sneak up through the neighborhood, between houses in some cases, all the way through the neighborhood to collect the wastewater and the stormwater up through here. Takes it down to the Police Athletic League. Where the streets are going downhill, that's generally where the pipes go, as well as the water on the surface. And it all seems to go right down there to the entrance to the Police Athletic League, and then down through there to the creek. As Priya mentioned, that the pipe is there. It's on a hillside. There's trees. We talked a little bit about education. As a young man, part of my education was exploring things like this that were out of the way. So you may not have seen it, but if you have children or grandchildren, they've probably been exploring down here and found that pipe outlet and the little stream that goes from there. The pipes there were put in about 100 years ago. So the infrastructure there is about it's been there for about a century. As we went through this existing system and assessed both underground and above ground, we found that the whole system really needed some rehabilitation. So as we went through there, we looked at how do we rehabilitate the existing system? How do we install these new pipes that are going to carry only stormwater and drop it into the creek, and make it as efficient and as less invasive to the least amount of impact to the neighborhood as possible, while still meeting the goals of the project. So as we look through here, I'm first going to go over what's going to happen underground, and then I'll finish with what the public and everybody there will see above ground. As engineers, a lot of what we do is out of sight of the public once the project's done. We do recognize that construction is always kind of a pain when it's going through. We recognize that, and we're putting provisions in to make sure that residents have access to their houses, but there are improvements that need to be done. Up on the screen here, the cyan or the blue lines are the new stormwater lines that will go in. The dark blue, almost blobs there, is where some green infrastructure will be going in. I'll talk about that in a minute. There's some magenta lines there in the street on Belmont and on White, and that's where we will actually be digging up existing sewer pipes and then replacing them. And then the rest of the red there is where we will be doing some lining, where we don't have to dig the pipe up. And so just taking a look at construction methods here, the majority of the pipe, close to 7,500 feet within this area, will be lined, meaning that we don't have to dig up the pipe, but we send a liner through the pipe and cure it, essentially refreshing the pipe as a new one, but without the surface disturbance. And so all of the work in between houses and in backyards will be this lining where we don't have to dig it up. An example there is at the bottom there, we call it CIPP. It means that it's cured in place. And the liners that they put in there, you can see there, the white is the liner that's going in. It matches the existing size of the pipe. There on the right, the open cut is where we actually go in and dig up the pipe and put it in. The majority of that will be on White and on Belmont there. And what we disturb from the surface will be restored. I'll get to that here in a minute. But as we go through this project and the contractors out there will be two different types of construction going on, and some will be much more visible. The open cut will be much more visible. Also, we are installing some green infrastructure as well that will be underground. This is a place to temporarily store the stormwater as it comes in under the surface, and allow it to evaporate, allow it to infiltrate into the soil. And we anticipate typically these systems have gravel as well as some pipes or half pipes. In the picture here on the lower left, there's some plastic half pipes that are put in to create void space underground. And then on top of that goes either pavement or grass, whatever's currently there. And I'll get you'll see here in a minute on the surface what we're going to have. As we look at surface improvements, once we've done the underground work, we're restoring everything again. Where there's pavement that's been disturbed, that pavement will be put back. Here you can see on Belmont and on White, those areas where we do that open cut of the pipeline, the streets will be restored there to a new condition, redo the curb and gutters. There's inlets there where stormwater currently goes from the surface down underground. We will repair, replace all of those and connect those to those new stormwater pipes that will be going in. Wherever there's grass currently, we will, I say we're all a team here. We'll bring the contractor onto the team, and that contractor will also restore all that sod in other areas. And then there's a couple of places there in green, which is green infrastructure that will be at the surface that will be noticeable for the community as we go through. So in these locations is where water temporarily, right after a storm, will pond up, and it will infiltrate, evaporate, make its way downstream, somewhat similar to what nature used before we came in and developed it. So as we put in this green infrastructure, it's intended to help mimic the natural processes that are there. We aren't perfect in mimicking nature, but we've come a long way. And so this helps us to restore some of what we've changed in this area. There at the lower left are some of the plantings that you see there. It's not just turf grass, it's plantings that are designed to be wet for a period of time, as well as the dry periods. So that long term, it looks good, but also functions well for what we need it to do. There in the upper middle, you can see some permeable pavers. So there will be a new parking lot in that area. Those permeable pavers are above that subsurface gravel. So that's how we get water from the surface down through. Permeable means that water can actually go through the pavement, which is very cool to watch. So once it's in, it'll be cool. It'll be something interesting to go out and actually look at. But that water goes through these permeable pavers and then is stored down in the gravel to either infiltrate into the ground or evaporate or temporarily stored there. The extended detention wetland over there on the right, it will look somewhat similar to the bioretention there with the plantings that can withstand both wet, especially in the spring, as well as dry in the summer, and be a garden and a good amenity there. In association with these, there will be some new access paths that can be used as sidewalks to view and to appreciate the green infrastructure that is there. And there again, we have the subsurface storage down there on the Police Athletic League. It's not completely evident there, but that will again it'll look like it does now, turf grass on top, but that underground gravel and storage area will be working as we move through this. And I will go ahead and turn it back over to Drew.
Thank you, Chad. All right, if you're viewing this live right now on Microsoft Teams, you can pull up the QR code and use that to go to kcsmartsewer.us/outfall054 to learn more about the project. If you're viewing a recording of this, feel free to plug in that URL to learn more about the project. And lastly, just want to show one last time who your main points of contact are for Outfall 054. We have their contact information here. Priya, Jesse, and Chad are your main go-to contacts at this point. So with that, I think we'll close